Greater Manchester Police have never had the greatest reputation, but when it comes to corruption, their speciality really does know no bounds. Today I'm back in my hometown of Manchester to talk to Kass, who is a survivor of rape. Several years ago she went to Greater Manchester Police after she was raped by a man when she went on a date, and instead of bringing justice, all they did was tell her that he seems like such a nice man, why would he rape you? So I'm here in Manchester with Kass, who's a survivor of rape, and after going to Greater Manchester Police for help, she became a survivor of them as well. You may have already seen some of this story on Channel 4, but now I'm going to hand over to Kass, who is using an alias, and let her explain what happened. So can you tell people basically a little bit about yourself and what happened initially?
Yeah, well, it was in March, early March 2019. I went on a date with someone I met on a dating site called Elite Singles. It was a very expensive dating site. It was for professionals, and you were meant to find someone in your own same wavelength. Okay, so yeah, so I started talking to him. He was very friendly and chatty. He came across very, very charming. After talking for a full day on the dating site, he asked me for my mobile number, so we started WhatsApping. And he straight away he said he wanted to come from where he's from. He traveled to Manchester. She's somewhere around the East Midlands.
Okay.
And we organized for that to happen. He also had kids like me, like I said, professional. So I was very excited. I got ready for the date. We planned it very well to go to a restaurant, have a couple of cocktails after our meal, and then go for karaoke because I love singing.
Yeah,
So
like a normal date basically.
a normal date, yes. Every now and then he got a bit flirty in a way that I didn't like it, and he knew that. He knew that basically I wasn't looking for just a one night thing or anything like that, and I was very clear. That can be seen in all the messages of all the data that was extracted anyway in our conversations. And when he came over, well, we did what we said we were going to do. We went to the restaurant. We had our meal, really nice. I had a couple of drinks, meaning 2 beers with my meal.
Yeah.
And then the 2 cocktails. And then we moved to the karaoke bar quite early because he started sort of instructing me, now we need to do this, we need to do that. So I found myself that I was being quite compliant after them few drinks. When we got to the karaoke bar, I said, and I told him on messages, I only drink one tequila, and after that, I just drink soft drinks.
Yeah.
So after that shot that he bought me, it took just a matter of maybe 20 minutes, half an hour for me just to start seeing everything very blurry. Trying to speak, and my speech wasn't really right.
So we
I was
put
slurring.
something in your drink.
Yeah.
You drugged you.
So it was. I only came. Well, I only came to realize what happened a few days after, because obviously I did wake up in his hotel, but I thought everything was sort of like I agreed to be there. Something must have happened. I didn't remember exactly, but it took a few days when I started just to remember little bits of the night.
Yeah.
But I still didn't remember how I got there.
Okay.
So what I remember was really bad. He was basically abusing me.
So,
And he was speaking to me really abusive, with an abusive language.
So it took you a few days after until you started to get some of the memory back. How soon after did you go to the police and report it?
I reported it to the police on the Friday after, because I only realized on a Wednesday. Thursday I didn't do anything, but Friday I had a counseling session. And I spoke to my counselor and I said, listen, I don't know what's going on. I think something isn't right. I couldn't even name it or what I thought it was. And she's the one that told me, Kass, I think you've been spiked. So she told me, go home and try to call someone. So I spoke to friends, to one from my friends, and she says, you need to call St. Mary's Hospital. I rang St. Mary's, and St. Mary's told me you need to report it to the police first. So I did that on the phone. They took my report. They gave me a crime number, and then another police officer got in touch over the phone in the evening to tell me that I had to visit one of the police stations as soon as possible. So I said, I have my kids at home. I'll do it tomorrow when I.
Were these all female officers that you dealt with?
Initially, it was female officers on the phone. And when I get to the police station, I went to the police station in Berry, and I waited for 3.5 hours to be seen. Even though I said I've got this report and I've been told to come here to speak to someone, and I said it's about rape. So they had me 3.5 hours after I'm seen by someone. It is a police officer, or they was more like a detective. And he sees me and he asks me the same, tell me the story. And I told him, well, I'm no longer with my husband.
Sorry, so did they take a written statement or did they record you?
That took a while before that happened. So what happened is, like, they saw me, this police officer, after 3.5 hours. I told him the story. I told him I went on a date, that I'm not from this country. My marriage was dissolved, and immediately he started making assumptions, like telling me, oh, there's no problem, everybody's entitled to make, like, to start a new life, like, so which I thought, this is so patronizing, no one asks you for your opinion. And after I told him everything, he says, oh, but we don't have a specialist here, you need to go to Central Park Station.
Okay.
So there I go. I drove there. I waited for another hour and a half before I could be seen, and then I see a detective who was a female.
Okay.
To be honest, this detective seemed very, very professional, very much on the ball. I felt that she made me feel that I was doing the right thing, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She took the written statement and she said, tonight you need to go to St. Mary's. Officers are going to pick you up to get your forensics. Obviously, not a lot is going to be there now because there's been a few days. But we need to do it. And tomorrow you need to come back for a video statement.
Okay.
So when I went the next day, it was a different detective that was doing the interviewing. And I did the video statement, and what they used to do, they asked me for my mobile phone that I had to hand it in. Basically, they said, you don't have to, but if you don't do it, we cannot guarantee it. You can get justice. Okay?
Okay.
So, anyway, I thought they were doing their investigation. I did everything they needed from me.
Yeah.
I gave them my mobile number. I did everything out, the forensics. I gave them as much detail as possible. I gave them my clothing, and also, sorry, sometimes I forget things.
It's okay.
And so I did everything they needed from me, and it was only like they also had to cut some of my hair to do some tests for drugs. So that was really, really, really upsetting. But I had to do it. And a month later, I've not heard anything. A month later, after a month later, they called me, and I said, they said something like, oh, we went to arrest him, but he was on holiday, so we phoned him to his mobile to tell him he needs to come to Manchester. Which I thought, well, you don't give the heads up to someone like that when it's for rape.
That makes sense.
But
yeah.
Anyway, and then I said to them, and what about the CCTV? Did you obtain the CCTV? And she says, well, no, I already told you that the one from the bar, it gets destroyed after a week. And I thought, okay, fair enough. And I said, what about the hotel? As well, we couldn't get it. And I said, how come you couldn't get it? Oh, it's because they destroyed it as well. Sometimes it happens. I said, well, you're wrong. You're wrong, because I know people that works for that chain, at the HQs, and I know they keep it for a month rolling. So
they left two pieces of CCTV and didn't bother to actually go and arrest him.
Yeah. So they did bother arresting him supposedly, but he wasn't in. So they invited him to come to see them. So that's when they tried to tell me that they didn't have the CCTV, but it wasn't their fault. But I called them straight away. I said, I know for a fact they keep it for a month. What did you do? Why didn't you get it? And they say, okay, there was an error on our part and we couldn't obtain it. But it's not the be all and end all, Kass. It's not the be all and
They actually said
all.
that?
Yeah, they kept telling me things like
That's not really appropriate.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not, but everything wouldn't be the be all and end all. So that was the view for everything. At the end of the day, they didn't put anything together with that mentality.